You're watching TAG TV.
Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with Pakistan, where the grand coalition of the opposition parties took to the streets of Islamabad protesting against the alleged rigging in the general elections, in which Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf emerged as the single largest party but fell short of the majority. The opposition has intensified its protest, especially after creating a merger against Imran Khan. A report.
In a rare turn of events, a united alliance of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, Pakistan's People's Party, Muttahida Majlis-e-Amal and Awami National Party took to the streets of Islamabad, alleging the Election Commission of hand in glove with the army establishment and Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and exercising malpractices in an attempt to make Imran the Prime Minister of the country. Pakistan People's Party heavyweights, including former Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani and Raja Pervez Ashraf, Faratullah Babar, Khurshid Shah, Shehri Rahman and Naved Qamar, joined the agitation demanding resignation of the Election Commission management. Addressing the protests, the participants criticized the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its chairman Imran Khan for their reluctance to cooperate in allowing fair probe into rigging in the general elections.
आज पूरी पाकिस्तानी क़यादत एक पेज पर है और जाली अक्सरियत तस्लीम नहीं की जा सकती। जाली वजीर आजम नहीं मारा जाएगा। जाली वजीर आजम को इस मुल्क के इंतहाई जिम्मेदार मनसब पर बैठने की कोई हक हासिल नहीं है और हम इन इदारों पर भी वाज़ेह कर देना चाहते हैं कि आपने एक जाली और नाअहल इंसान को मुल्क की अक्सरियत जाली बुनियादों पर देकर खुद को बेनकाब कर दिया है और आपकी ख्वाहिश इस मुल्क में कभी भी पूरी नहीं होने दी जाएगी।
Since the announcement of the election results, the opposition parties have expressed a strong condemnation on the way the electoral exercise was conducted. They have repeatedly accused the Pakistan Army, Election Commission and Imran Khan of working in collusion. The Election Commission further mired the election process in controversy when it withheld a final decision on results in 26 constituencies, including 9 parliamentary seats and 17 provincial seats.
ये खेल और नाटक जो इलेक्शन के नाम पे पाकिस्तान के अवाम से रचाया गया है, हम इस नाटक को न सिर्फ जमीन बोझ करेंगे बल्कि पाकिस्तान के वोट की, अवाम के वोट की इज्जत को बहाल करेंगे। पाकिस्तान मुस्लिम लीग नून इंतकामी सियासत को भी मुस्तरद करती है और नैब के जरिए जो इंतकामी कार्रवाइयां की जा रही हैं उनको भी मुस्तरद करती है और हम पाकिस्तान में वोट की इज्जत के लिए 20 करोड़ अवाम के हक हुक्मरानी की बालादस्ती के लिए अपनी जिद्दोजहद को कामयाबी तक जारी रखेंगे।
Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party swept the general elections held on July 25th, emerging as the single largest party in the country's parliament and in 2 of the 4 provincial assemblies. PTI will replace PMLN as Pakistan's ruling party when members of the parliament take an oath later this month. However, the kind of atmosphere developing in the country, the oath and the governmental procedure might get shifted by a few days. Owing to the absence of a clear majority to Imran Khan, the Grand Coalition is ready with its own Prime Minister and significant positions.
Earlier in his victory speech following the polls, Imran Khan said he welcomed any investigation into vote rigging allegations and that his party would support the process. However, he hasn't done anything as of now to placate the opposition. We are joined by Mr. Rahul Jalali, a senior journalist and a South Asian political analyst. Mr. Jalali, how do you analyze the current political situation of Pakistan, where the Grand Opposition Alliance has escalated its attack on the opposition?
Well, I think what is happening in Pakistan, it's a complete situation of flux. You can see that Imran Khan, who's the elect Prime Minister of Pakistan, has not been able to swear in. In fact, he's not getting the numbers. Secondly, there is this total uncertainty. Now it is said that he might swear in on the 14th of August, which happens to be the Independence Day of Pakistan. But that would be a little strange, because he had to be sworn in before the Independence Day. But that seems unlikely to happen. So it shows that how disturbed politically Pakistan is.
Do you think that there's going to be a smooth swearing in for Imran Khan, or there are still some obstacles left?
Well, there are many obstacles left as far as Imran is concerned, because I do not think the army is totally on with Imran, because the army does not trust Imran 100%, but they're trying to work their way along with them. Along with him rather, but the fact of the matter is it's the numbers game which is eluding Imran. Also, the opposition has united. Look, this is one of the first time in Pakistan's history that People's PPP as well as Nawaz Sharif Muslim League, along with the Awami Party of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, have come together to form a common alliance.
Earlier, Imran Khan had asserted that he was ready for any investigation into the rigging of polls. However, he hasn't taken any concrete action into the same. How do you see this?
Well, I think Imran made a statement that he is willing for investigation into rigging, which every politician does. But the fact is that the Pakistani Election Commission hasn't responded as yet. They are the ones who has to authorize the investigation, or the courts have to. But there is no movement on either of the two areas. Imran is not the Prime Minister as yet, so let him be Prime Minister. But I have my doubts about investigation of rigging, or even if investigation is ordered, it will just be a make-believe investigation, which would just go to show that the elections in Pakistan did not involve any rigging. But let me also clarify the fact that the rigging in Pakistan was extremely scientific. The elections were rigged even before the elections started, before the vote started. So maybe in the actual voting process there isn't enough rigging, but the electoral process was entirely rigged in favor of Imran.
How, according to you, this political turmoil has affected Pakistan?
Well, first, that for so many days after the election results were declared, there is no government in Pakistan. So that goes to show how unstable democracy is in Pakistan, how difficult it is for any government to stay afloat in Pakistan, and this entire talk about Pakistan moving towards democracy, how that argument is flawed, because it is a democracy which is dictated by the Pakistani army. This entire episode shows it, that it is after all the ISI along with the army which runs Pakistan. All the democratic candidates are just faces who play to the tune of set by the Pakistani army.
Thank you, Mr. Jalali. Moving on to the occupied territory of Gilgit-Baltistan, where the terrorists who have been flourishing under the direct patronage of Islamabad unleashed mayhem as they burnt down more than a dozen girls' schools at different locations of the region. The attacks came just days after Imran Khan, who campaigned on the slogan Naya Pakistan, was voted to power. Despite the change in the regime, the fundamental policy of Islamabad of keeping the region marginalized and its people remains intact. Terrorists seem to have only become stronger. A report.
Hundreds of infuriated residents took to the streets of Diyamar, protesting against the heinous act of violence in which over a dozen girls' schools were burnt down overnight at different locations of the Pakistan-occupied territory of Gilgit-Baltistan by terrorists. People expressed their resentment by shouting slogans against terrorism that has been rapidly spreading its tentacles under the direct patronage of Islamabad's civil rulers and Rawalpindi's army generals. The attacks were aimed at further discouraging girls' education, which has already been teetering in the region, with only 10% of the girls completing their basic education.
जो कुछ हुआ है हुकूमत से भी यही हम दरख्वास्त करते हैं कि भाई चंद अनासिर हैं, इनको सामने लाया जाए, उस हवाले से जड़ तक जाए कि कौन है, क्या कर रहे हैं। ये दियामर के साथ एक बड़ी साजिश हो रही है, हम इस साजिश को नाकाम बना देंगे।
In the name of expressing solidarity, the politicians who have for years been meting out an overcall treatment to the people of this region have only issued their sympathy templates. The army establishment, Islamabad's political stooges and the law enforcement agencies, who are otherwise very proactive at implicating local innocents on false charges, have shown an unprecedented incompetence in cases pertaining to extremism and terrorism. However, even this level of prejudice and bias against the people of the region has failed to dampen their spirit.
इसीलिए हम चाहते हैं कि हम ऐसे लोगों की सरकोबी करें, उन लोगों की जिन्होंने ये हरकत की है, उन लोगों को कैफर किरदार तक पहुंचाए।
Girl child education faces stiff opposition from fundamentalist elements in Pakistani society as well, where religious fundamentalism is swiftly gaining ground. Despite the contrary claims made by the civil leadership of Pakistan, the region has been reeling under decades of mistreatment, which doesn't seem to be going away in the near future.
Earlier in 2004 and 2011 also, extremists had targeted the girls' schools, ransacking the infrastructure. Moving on to Afghanistan, where the security situation doesn't seem to be improving despite stepped-up efforts by the Afghan army and the NATO forces. The insurgents are on a rampage and are killing people with impunity. However, in an altogether different story at another front, several of the terrorists who owed an allegiance with the dreadful Islamic State have surrendered. This has not only boosted the morale of the security forces, but has also provided a shot in the arm to the government that has been using multi-pronged strategy to counter and eradicate the rising menace of terrorism in the country. A report.
Shiites, who make up less than 20% of Afghanistan's population, were rarely singled out for attacks in the decade after the US-led invasion that toppled the Taliban, a Sunni fundamentalist regime. In yet another attack on the community only days ago, suicide bomber attacked a Shiite mosque in eastern Afghanistan, killing dozens. Afghanistan has mostly avoided the sectarian violence that has devastated countries such as Iraq, but there have been increasing number of attacks on Shiite targets in recent years. No reliable census information exists on the size of Shiite community in Afghanistan, but estimates range around 10 to 20%, with most coming from the Persian-speaking Hazara and Tajik ethnic groups. The security officers, who have so far been unable to prevent the attacks, have become mere messengers of sad news.
डजे कड़ी और गैन बाद मस्जिद दाखिल शवी और मस्जिद के इंतहार शवे और द्वारा महाजमीन इंतहार शवी दी और दे तरफात ज़ात मुरद बादात कम चे शलो पर शहीदान तुरुस पर लरू अब दे देश नज़ियात ज़ख्मियान लरू.
Recent violence has not only proven to be a setback to the Kabul establishment, but has took a heavy toll on the NATO forces as well. As many as 3 Czech soldiers were killed in the August 5th Burgam airfield attack, taking the number of Czech soldiers killed in the foreign missions to 28 since the country's 1989 transition from communism to democracy. The country expressed its sorrows as the bodies returned to Prague in a ceremony attended by the President and other top officials, marking the deadliest incident involving the Army's foreign missions in 4 years. It was the first such loss since 4 soldiers were killed in a suicide attack in Afghanistan in 2014, in the bloodiest incident in the Czech Army's modern history. Meanwhile, Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, who has been holed up Ecuador's London embassy for 6 years, while speaking up about the disclosure of the classified US reports on Afghanistan, said that the authorities were required to reroute their strategy in Afghanistan.
It's clear that it will shape an understanding of what the past 6 years of war has been like, and that the course of the war needs to change. The manner in which it needs to change is not yet clear.
However, in a major boost to the government of Afghanistan and the forces, more than 150 Islamic State fighters surrendered to the Afghan security forces in the northwest province of Jozjan after they were defeated and driven out by the Taliban. The defeat represents a major setback for the group, which first appeared in eastern Afghanistan around 4 years ago and which had gained a foothold in southern Jozjan, where it fought for control of smuggling routes into neighboring Turkmenistan. The Taliban launched an offensive several weeks ago in Jozjan against the group, which they oppose as much as they do the Western-backed government in Kabul, and which has established an unmatched reputation for brutality. The fighting prompted thousands of people to flee the provincial capital of Sheberghan, where many gave shocking accounts of brutality of Islamic State fighters and commanders in Darzeb and Kush Tepa, the 2 districts they control before being driven out.
Afghan government officials said 152 fighters from the Islamic State strongholds of Darzab and Kush Tepa surrendered to security forces. Moving on to Bangladesh, where the government was forced to bring a change in transport laws, defining the punishment for rash driving following unprecedented protests that broke out in Dhaka. The agitation by school and college students broke out after the driver of a privately operated bus lost control and ran over a group of college students in an alleged race for passengers with another bus. The government has not only increased the jail term for the perpetrators by 2 years, but is also mulling death penalty in severe cases. We have a report. Dhaka, the crowded capital of 18 million, was left paralyzed as thousands of young college and school students took to the streets demanding a change in the law carrying punishment to those found guilty of rash driving resulting in deaths. Giving into the mounting pressure and the snowballing of the peaceful protest into violent clashes, the government approved a raise in the punishment to the perpetrators by 2 years. A statement by a law ministry official stating the government was mulling over death penalty to the perpetrators had created ripples across the spectrum. Although the decision was both welcomed and criticized in equal measure across the society, the transporters lamented it, saying that the government was getting brutal and was not considering their plight.
গভর্নমেন্ট যে আইন করছে 5 বছরের সাজা লাগবে আমরা দুর্ঘটনা ঘটাইলে তাহলে আমাদের ফ্যামিলি কিভাবে চলবে আমাদের ছেলে সন্তান আছে বাবা মা আছে আমরা জেলে থাকবো বাবা মা কিভাবে এগুলা মেকআপ করে যে আমাদের দেখবো
The first of its kind protest, which was sparked due to accidents, a common phenomenon in the country, were also being seen with critique eye. Analysts across the forum have said that the clashes reached to such intensity only because some vested political interests were involved in it. The United Nations said it was concerned for the safety of the young people caught up in the protest. The US Embassy in Bangladesh also criticized the police response to the protests in a strongly worded statement. A reprimanded and assertive police administration has been carefully observing the turn of events and exercising restraint and authority at the same time. They have also launched a crackdown on the owners of the illegal vehicles.
বাসের অভিযান করতেছে এখানে যে সমস্ত গাড়িগুলোর ফিটনেস নাই রুট পারমিট নাই বা ফিটনেসের মেয়াদোত্তীর্ণ সেগুলো আটক করে আমরা আমাদের ডাম্পিং এ পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি
Meanwhile, Shahidul Alam, a photographer cum activist, was detained by Bangladesh police allegedly on the charges of spreading rumors on social media with an aim of inciting violence. As reported by a local newspaper, Alam told family members and lawyers that he was punched while in custody and that police placed something heavy on his head. Rights group Amnesty International called for Alam's immediate and unconditional release, saying he was held after an interview to Al Jazeera English on the Dhaka protests. Moving on to India, where the 208th edition of the spectacular flower show was organized in the Lal Bagh Botanical Garden in Bengaluru. Regarded as one of the most awaited events of the garden city, this year's show put a display of around 87 types of seasonal flowers. Have a look.
Ahead of 72nd Independence Day celebrations, a tribute to Indian Armed Forces was paid in the form of 10-day flower show held in the city of Bengaluru. Jointly organized by the Department of Horticulture and Mysore Horticulture Society, this year's theme revolved around the concept of patriotism. It flaunted some magnificent floral installation shaped in different war gears, including military helicopters, battle tanks, missiles and marine warships. A model of the Amar Jawan Jyoti and the War Memorial at India Gate in Delhi was the highlight of the show. Other than this, landscapes were created depicting BSF Jawans on the Siachen glaciers, deserts and on the coasts. A 25-foot-tall vertical garden made of 15,000 flowers was also created in the glass house to replicate a lighthouse transmission signals to the armed forces.
This year's theme for Independence Day, as they are recognizing the army, which is really important for us. So it's nice. It's looking at it, even we have that sense of patriotism, looking at it, seeing it, how beautifully our army can be portrayed through the flowers. That's really nice, right? Because army, when we think about army, it's always fights and wars and everything. So when they show it through flowers with colors, beautiful, it's really nice that even army can be recognized in such a beautiful and colorful way.
Along with generating the feeling of patriotism, the flower show also created a filmy environment as it celebrated the 85 years completed by Kannada film industry. The 45-meter-long film reel, made up of 15,000 roses, grabbed a number of eyeballs during the show. The camera model, made up of 7,000 roses and clapboard, were also on display.
Showcase something new here, which it's so much to learn from here. Like there's a flag, mountain, helicopter. There's a lot of things which can be seen here. Even there is a park, small kind of park, and even my friends have come here to shoot a documentary video. So that's very nice thing they have done.
The exhibition also showcased more than 87 varieties of seasonal flowers such as Medinilla, Anthurium, Orchid, Vinca, Bougainvillea and Impatient and several others. The whole flower show was put together by 15 artists who used 1.2 lakh flowers. Moreover, 40,000 flowers were replaced thrice a day to keep the displays fresh.
Mostly come like twice or thrice, and this is my third time I'm coming. And every year we have like a different theme, and it's like this time it's more bright, and we are seeing new flowers, like ajeeb flowers we are seeing. So it's like wonderful, like from all parts of the India, and also I think from international kind of flowers we are able to see. So that's something exotic and nice.
The famous Lal Bagh Botanical Garden in Bengaluru has been conducting such flower shows biannually. It is noteworthy that the construction of Lal Bagh started during the reign of Hyder Ali in 1760 and was completed by his son and successor Tipu Sultan. Later in 1856, it was given the status of a government botanical garden, and since then it has been used as a center for the scientific study of plants and botanical artwork. Currently, it is managed by the Directorate of Horticulture, Government of Karnataka, and has a collection of over 1,000 tropical plants and trees that are over a century old.
The flora of India is one of the richest in the world due to the wide range of climate, topology and habitat in the country. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.
You're watching TEG TV.